Hi everyone, it's the tiniest one back with another video for you, and it's a rather exciting preview today, and it's one that I'm actually already really excited about actually reviewing it as well. But the preview is because there is an NDA on the 7th and I'm not allowed to talk to you too much about stuff before then. So this is just us having a really good look inside the box, the aesthetics of the board, some in-depth stuff to do with the board that I am allowed to talk about. But the full reviews will start to go live thick and fast from the 7th of July. If you're watching this after that, go and have a look on the channel because you'll be able to have a look at the review already. Also, if you do like these videos, please click subscribe and also hit the bell as well, because then YouTube will actually tell you when I've put a video up. And for the regulars, that's why YouTube's not telling you I've put a video up, it's because you need to press the bell. Anyway, we're going to get into the box thick and fast because I want to show you the board more than anything else. Sticker pack. Don't need to go into it. Lots of stickers, some for cables, some for a passport. Yeah, sticker pack. Inside the first part of the box, you've got your installation guide and then your manual. And then there's a secondary part of the box which is absolutely rammed full of stuff. So we're going to pull it out and we'll have a look. Oh my God, yeah, all right. There's stuff everywhere. Right, there's lots of screws and stuff. You've got some SATA cables and the SATA cables are braided. There's, oh my God, there's another lot. There's 6 SATA cables that are braided. I'm going to be here all day. Right, there's a lot of stuff in the box. There's RGB extensions, normal RGB extensions. There's addressable RGB extensions. You get your drivers on a USB stick. Lovely, amazing, something that they are doing, which I think, well, it sounds good. I'm not sure whether it's going to work or not, but this is basically a little microphone. And you plug it into a header on the board, and it's so that you can actually track the noise that your fans are making in the system, and you can tune your fan performance by the noise rather than just the RPM. Amazing. Anyway, so you get a load of temperature probes. I'm seeing there's the, this is for the Wi-Fi. There is actually, I believe, yeah, there's 2 of these in total because there's Wi-Fi 6 on the board. Ah, look, there's the other one. Then you also get some Velcro ties to keep things tidy. This, oh my God, that's a completely separate box. Okay, right. Just so that you're aware, I've not looked at all this stuff yet, so I don't know. So this is a fan command, right? Okay, what? USB out. They all look like USBs. USB in, motherboard sync. Okay, so there's got to be other cables. Like I said, I've not looked at this, so I'm looking at it at the same time as you. Okay, so there are an awful lot of cables in these, but then, oh, okay. So there's all different sort of cables. Oh, I get it now. Okay, right. So essentially, this little thing controls, basically, is the fan header and an RGB header on the same thing with a connector here. So you have that connector you plug in, and then on the other end, there's a fan cable. This is actually pretty cool. See, this is the good thing about me doing stuff blind sometimes, because I get to work stuff out of you on camera. But you get one end that goes into the header, and then you've got an addressable connector and a normal RGB connector with a fan header, so you can connect it up to RGB fans, and then you control all that with that. That's actually quite cool. Yeah, oh, I'm never going to get all that back in, so we'll put that back in the box nicely. But for now, what we need to do is have a look at this. And I say that in my very best Clarkson voice in the world, because this is the first time in an awfully long time Gigabyte have actually managed to make me excited. Now, I have already looked around this board before I filmed it. May not have opened the box, but I've had a look around the board because I filmed peeling this off and doing like the ASMR peel stuff. I'm going to say straight away that, okay, I've not tested it yet, but because of the specs on this board and everything I'm going to talk to you about in a second, I'm quite literally giving it the Innovation Award already, because the only way that this board could be ruined would be by BIOS engineers, because aesthetically and electronically what the designers have done is basically produced a board that I can actually honestly say for the first time ever there are parts on this board that I think Asus are going to copy, and it's always the other way around, and it literally is always the other way around. Asus does stuff, the other people copy. Not with this. Honest to God, it's back to the original UD7 days of amazingness with Gigabyte, where I love this, and I hope to God this all trickles down into the lower end. And I know this is going to be an expensive board, but oh my days. Now you will be able to click through to the OC3D website to go and have a look at more specifics. I will also go into much more depth by stripping the board down and all kinds of stuff, naming all of the components and all of that sort of thing in the main review. But this is meant to be a preview, so we're going to skim around a lot of stuff. It's going to be enough for me to say that this is digital power around the outside of the board, and it's 16 phases, not a single doubler in sight, and there's no parallel wiring. So there are 14 phases for the CPU and then 2 for the SoC. That is done with a dedicated controller. So there are no doublers. That single controller controls all 16 phases, and those 16 phases are capable of 70 amps. So the power regs around the outside of this board are amazing. It's completely massively overspec'd. I've never seen a 16-phase, dedicated 16-phase board ever, and I think it's the first anyway, I think it's the first. Someone can please tell me if I'm wrong. I think we're basically getting to the point now where we are getting, the technology's becoming more available, and the manufacturers are actually starting to use it. So you've got 14 phases just for the CPU with no doublers. I mean, that in itself is amazing. When we're talking about the heat sinks around the outside, they may look a little bit old school, but they've been specially coated with stuff. The heat pipe that goes all the way around, that does actually come up and around here, that's actually in direct contact as well. But those heat sinks are so tremendously efficient because there's masses of surface area. It's not just a big chunk of aluminium with just the outside surface areas available. Each one of those tiny little fins means loads of surface area, which means massive cooling capacity. So I'd be very, very surprised if the VRMs on this board get hot, especially where they're capable of 70 amps. But with all of that cooling as well, it's epic. Because the thing you do need to remember, it's all right, the board's being able to provide 70 amps, but you do have to cool them still as well. So despite the fact that you think they'll be working less because there's more of them, they're still going to be creating the heat from being able to switch all of that electricity. So you do need to be able to cool it as well. So this, for an air-cooled solution, is probably, well, no, actually, this for an air-cooled solution is the best I've seen on any of the X570 boards so far. Up on the top left-hand corner, both of the 8-pin powers that are up there are actually shielded and braced as well. I will say there is a fan header just here, 4-pin PWM fan header just here. Then when we come across, there is also CPU optional and CPU fan header here. And then you have 2 RGB headers up on this side, which I can zoom you in a little bit more so that you can see better because the camera's amazing. And then between the CPU headers and the RGBs, you can actually see the electrical points there for you to be able to use your multimeter. And with that, you can get exacting voltages on the board. And if we zoom in that little bit more as well, you'll be able to see exactly what you'll be able to see. You've also see a couple of temperature headers there as well. You can see the GERT heat pipe there as well if you look carefully. Look. Right, then power and reset button down the side, and you can also see the braced memory DIMMs here. But because we've got it on an angle, what you can see is one of this board's party tricks, and that is everything down the left-hand side is 90 degrees, and I love it. I absolutely, moving the light in the background, love it. So you can see there you've got 5 fan headers, completely hidden really, because normally you'd only see this. Now the board is E80X, so it is a little bit wider. With a lot of cases, you'll still be able to fit E80X boards in there, and it will just overhang the grommets, normally sort of by about half of the grommet, depending on the way the case is designed. but just keep an eye on that. You'll be surprised. It's normally down to measurements. You should be able to look at the case and tell if there's going to be any obstructions. I've fitted EATX boards in cases that say they don't fit it over the years. Anyway, 24 pin. It's 90 degrees as well. You come down here. This is actually the front panel header there. There are wires in the box for you to be able to split it out if you want to, but you can work out with the manual which one's which. And then you've got another couple of RGB connectors there. I had to look. It's really this 3-pin one that gives it away, because so you've got your 4-pin RGB there, and then the one underneath is the 3-pin addressable. Just on the other side, you have the external, so the case port. This is USB 3.2 Gen 2, and then you've got your the poster out here. And if I zoom you right in on the board, you'll actually be able to see, look, front panel header, RGB, more RGB. There's a little jumper here, which I've not been able to work out what this is for yet. In fact, let me see if it's going to let me take out. No, I don't know. Anyway, so we will work that out for the main review. Yeah, that was great, Tom, wasn't it? Yeah. There we go, we're back. Then underneath that, you get 6 SATAs. You get another couple of USB 3s, again poking straight out the side. I'm going to pull this out here as well. And then you can see you've got a couple of dip switches there as well. They're your BIOS switches, demo LED there. And then another party piece is many of us don't use front panel headers for the audio. Some of us have DAC, some of us use the back. Do you know what I mean? They're all different options, but they covered it up down here where you can pull it out. And then you can see you've got your front panel audio header, and then you've also got the TPM and the Thunderbolt module down the bottom. But you've got this for if you need to add in any extra power for your graphics. To be honest with you, the bulk of you're never ever going to have to worry about it. It's more of an extreme overclocking, got too many graphics cards going on. It's very rare that you'll actually need any of that. Then there are 3 M.2s down in the main section. Now, one of the things I will say is a lot of people are saying about the expensive nature of the boards. But when it comes to the PCI Express 4 stuff, with this board you've got switches to be able to switch the PCI Express 4 lanes, and then you've also got signal amplifiers, so that you always get the best possible signal with your PCI Express 4, because there can be drop-offs if you switch it too much, or things are being moved around too much as well. And the board actually has 8 layers as well to help with the PCI Express 4 signal clarity. And it's also got an awful lot more copper going on in the board than they would normally use, again, to make the signal clarity for that PCI Express 4 that much better. Then, up here, you can see, probably, I'm just going to zoom up, probably the best time I've ever seen the Aorus logo used. Because it's very understated, and they've not tried to go too hard with it. It's very, like I said, it's just understated. I mean, look at the board. It's just blacks and silvers. It's a masterstroke. It's like they finally woke up and started listening to the people, rather than just letting people in an office somewhere that have no interest in PCs make decisions for us, and then it not looking very nice. So, and I really like this. Anyway, zooming down the back, there's an awful lot of connectivity down the back. You've got the BIOS flashback, the Wi-Fi 6, lots of USB. You've got a mix of USB 3.1 Gen 2 and USB 3.2 Gen 2. You've also got, just here, a Quantia 10 GBE, which is basically 10 gigabit LAN. Now, you do have to connect that to other 10 GBE things to be able to get, for it to actually be useful. So you'll need a 10 GBE switch. And if you're going to connect it to another PC, you're going to need a 10 GBE network card in that, or maybe a 10 GBE NAS. But the fact that's on there as well, I mean, those Quantia cards are a lot of money just to buy separately. So if you are going to upgrade other machines, it's not going to be cheap. But the fact that's on board is actually a really big statement. Then you've also got gold-plated audio connectors on the back. It ticks all of the right boxes. It literally is. I know I've spun it round before zooming out, but I've only got one pair of hands. Probably the best board I've seen from Gigabyte to date it's brilliant. And I'm not being funny, I like Gigabyte boards. I still have them in the background. That's actually, that orange one is the first board I ever got 6 gigahertz on. It's still got the processor in it that I did it on as well. But it's brilliant looking board. The only thing for us to do now is possibly light it up to see what it looks like. So this is on a demo mode, so don't judge it too much because it's literally just there. I've got a special power connector that means I can just light the RGBs up on it. But essentially I'm even annoyingly impressed with this because they've managed to make the RGBs on it quite subtle, in that this, you can see the way it's catching different bits of light. That's just normal black plastic when the lights are on, but because the light catches it in a different way, you'll see when it goes off, it makes it look textured, like there's almost a bit of acrylic on there that's catching the light slightly differently on. It goes down onto the heat sinks as well, so it's actually kind of nice. It's a bit brighter than I would expect on the camera. Okay, that's about as true as a representation as I've been able to get my camera to give to you, because obviously it does want to try and mess around with it because of the lighting. But then we've got another section down there where you can see where it says about the Sabre Hi-Fi, and then the other part that lights up is just down here. You can see every time the lights come on it has another spaz. But I really like this. Like, I properly like this. I genuinely think Asus have got a lot to worry about, just like Intel might on the 7th.